Okay, I'm not sure. It is 6:30, just about 6:30 now. So maybe Ankita, do you want to try and coordinate with Mr. Dua, and what I can do is just kick it off over here.
Sure, Deepta. Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
I think he's come back. I think he's back.
Okay, we'll just give it another minute then.
Yes. Mr. Dua, we can see you, your image on the screen. Can you try the audio once, please? Can you unmute and then say something?
Okay. For all of the attendees, I'm gonna get on video and just say a very warm welcome to everyone who's here with us today. We also have with us Mr. Dua, who's the political counselor of the High Commission of India and Malta. I think he's having a little bit of technical trouble getting started or getting online. So maybe we'll give it a minute or so, and then you know, I can get started and kick off the proceedings. So just bear with us for another 60 seconds, and I'm hoping he's able to figure out how to.
Okay.
How do you do, Mr. Dua?
Yeah, it is done. Yeah. So can you hear me now straight?
Loud and clear.
Hello?
Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Dua.
Okay. I think this is working step by step. His audio is working, his video is working. I think he's just not able to hear us now.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Okay.
I think, should we get started, Deepta? Meanwhile,
Maybe.
I'll try and get.
Yeah. If you could just coordinate with him, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And to all of the participants here, thank you so very much for being with us. It is absolutely wonderful to be here and to be part of this event today. And I think we're facing a slight technical trouble with Mr. Dua.
No, I cannot.
But we'll hopefully get that sorted out very soon. So once again, you know, thank you very much for being with us. We're going to spend the next hour essentially just focusing on, you know, it's an outcome of a study that we have done. It's about the quality of disclosures in financial reports or financial statements. And there's of course going to be a focus on Malta as well. But, you know, we're going to talk about what kind of issues we have seen in the financial reports, how we conducted the study, and what we think one can do to improve it and why it is important, why quality is important. So just before we jump into the study, by way of background or credentials, my name is Deepta Rangarajan. I am the co-founder of IRIS, and IRIS is a company which has been in the reg tech space. So we essentially deal with financial compliance, financial data, financial reporting, and with a focus on XBRL as well, or IXBRL. And we have been in this space since 2005. So it's been a very long time actually. And we work in 36 countries, both with regulators, which is you know, central banks, capital markets, business registries, etc., as well as with a large number of enterprises, large and small. And and of course, a number of partners. And one of the things we're very, very passionate about what we do. And we also, rank really high on quality scores in the work that we do in pretty much every market we are in around the world. But this specific independent third-party studies are put out in a few markets like in the US. And of course, you can see Iris Carbon ranks up on top. You will also see some other names of software, filing softwares, some of which are also offered in Europe around the ESMA ESEF mandate. But we're very proud to be ranked top-notch on quality. So the work that we do is all about making data cleaner, better, more transparent all around. So jumping straight into the topic for today, which is quality. Why is quality important? And why should one take quality seriously? And there are two good reasons. One is, of course, because regulators themselves take quality very seriously, right? And that is the only way a regulator is able to regulate or govern, which is by tracking the quality of the information that they receive. And to make sure that there is an integrity in the financial system, they use data, financial data, other information to track companies and to detect irregularities. For example, we all know of Enron, which was like a huge global scandal many years ago, or Wirecard, which is a more recent one in Germany. Now, all of these point to the need for regulators to take more serious action around the quality of information or the way they track information. And that's one reason why it's very important as companies that we ensure that the quality of what we give them is top-notch. And also because not just from a regulator's perspective, but even from an investor's perspective, from a stakeholder's perspective. So investors have choices, they can invest anywhere globally, and they look for companies which are transparent, where quality is top-notch, where disclosures are complete. And it's not just investors, it is lenders, when we're looking to raise capital in any form or to continue to engage with our stakeholders, it's very important to provide them with high quality, consistent, accurate information. And these are just two of the reasons why we believe quality is something to be taken very seriously. Now, our focus, of course, is on, financial information, financial data, and the study we're going to talk about is around annual reports. Now, through the course of creating, publishing, and submitting an annual report, there are always mistakes that tend to creep in. I mean, I guess it's in the nature of life in the creation of annual reports. Some mistakes happen just due to carelessness. For example, General Electric, which is, of course, very large, respected company, they made a mistake about 3-4 years ago in their report, in one of the filings that they made with the US SEC. And similarly, Axis Bank in India, very large bank, they made a 30 billion rupee error in one of their annual reports a few years ago. Now, of course, this can be attributed to carelessness, but there are mistakes which also happen deliberately, like the Enron and the Wirecard that we spoke about earlier. And sometimes careless mistakes can snowball into something much bigger if we are not careful. So, one of the things, again, we're going to focus on a little bit when we talk through this quality is, we all know that ESMA has come up with a new mandate called the ESEF reporting, which is reporting in inline XBRL. And with XBRL and inline XBRL, which essentially converts your financial data or financial reports into machine-readable data, these mistakes or deliberate errors can get caught much more quickly or easily. So actually, my colleague Anu, who is our director of quality and the product head for Iris Carbon, she was to take this next part of the study, but unfortunately, she was not able to make it today. So I will be continuing to actually deep dive into the study itself, what it is that we did. So essentially, we looked at a cross-section of companies in order to understand the following things. One is how good is the quality of the disclosures by listed European companies. So one just focused on the quality itself, and we looked at the past annual reports to understand quality, and then we looked at IXBRL, which is essentially the new ESEF mandate, to understand if IXBRL comes in, how does that impact quality? So we looked at the quality of reports before IXBRL, and then we're looking at IXBRL to see how can IXBRL actually improve the quality, and what can a filer do to ensure that their reports that they file up in quality or become error-free. And since we are looking at IXBRL improving the quality, we also focus on the ESEF taxonomy, just to understand how complete is this taxonomy, and to what extent will companies need to extend the taxonomy to capture what they normally report. So basically 3 parts. One is just to focus on the quality. One is a focus on the role that IXBRL can play and how issuers can therefore use this opportunity of the ESEF mandate to up the quality overall. And the third is specifically just a quick look at the ESEF taxonomy and the, the completeness of the ESEF taxonomy. So I'll talk about the methodology that we adopted. Essentially, we went through the cross-section of all European countries, and we picked up 20% of all listed companies across Europe. Now, in doing that, we made sure that in each country, there was at least 10% of companies picked up. We also made sure that there was a nice mix between large caps and small caps, so there was a representation across both. And in some countries, we expanded the sample size. So, for example, in countries like France or Germany, where the market size, where the number of companies was bigger, and in Malta as well, since we are with you and Malta is very special to our hearts, we also expanded the sample size in Malta, and we've covered 20 companies over here. So in total, across Europe, we've actually covered 671 companies, and that has been the basis of our study. And how we conducted the study, so this was, the sample size that we picked was 671. How we conducted the study is that we took the annual reports of these 671 companies. We converted them into IXBRL using the ESEF taxonomy. And the very act of converting a report into IXBRL means it becomes machine readable. Now, in XBRL and IXBRL, as we already know, there are already inbuilt validations, and we have software tools that have additional validations as well. So we ran the checks using these various validations, and the errors were thrown up. And we have a large team of experts that actually reviewed the results then. Of course, we ignored things like rounding off errors, which don't count basically. So we only looked on large issues, the large mistakes. So this was the methodology, and the effort we put in was very huge. It was very large effort. So we actually have a team of over 300 XBRL experts, and 50 XBRL experts of our team of 300 were just dedicated to the study or this exercise, which ran across 27 European countries and covered 27 industries. So I'm moving to share the summary results right away. So in the summary results, if we look at the grand total, we see that about 10% of the companies had mistakes. I forgot to tell you this, I'm sorry. When we said that we converted the reports into IXBRL, we only focused on the primary financial statements, which is exactly what ESMA has required in the first phase of their new ESEF mandate. So we converted the report into IXBRL, but the XBRL tagging that we did was only for the primary financial statements. So we machine tagged all the numbers of the primary financial statements. And on the basis of that is the rest of the study. So we see that 10% of the companies, which is about 66 companies in the sample of 671, had mistakes in their primary financial statements. Not rounding off errors, not insignificant mistakes, but mistakes of consequence. If we look at Malta's bang in the middle of that is exactly equal to the average of Europe. So there are some countries that have much higher numbers, and there are countries, of course, which have lower numbers. But Malta is done pretty well, actually. I would say, if you look at the cross section, and is in the average of the European markets in terms of the error rates. And if we were to look at it out of a sample size of 20 companies, there were only 2 that had errors. So so Malta has actually done pretty well. This is the list of companies that we reviewed in Malta. So the names will, of course, be familiar to you. And I know that some of you are on the webinar event with us today. Thank you very much for that. We will not go into the specifics of which 2 companies, etc. But this this was just to give you an idea of the sampling that we picked from Malta. Let's now move to what kinds of mistakes we found. Now, this is again from the primary financial statements. There are 4 main categories of mistakes. The first and the biggest, as you will see on the pie chart over here, is totaling mistakes. That essentially means that numbers in the primary financial statement don't add up to the total. So let's say we have elements of cost and it doesn't add up to total cost. What is reported as a total cost doesn't add up to all the components that are reported over there. So totaling mistakes are the biggest chunk of mistakes that are found across all of the reports, basically. And the second is what is called mismatched values. And a mismatched value is a concept, like let's say profit. It is reported in the income statement. It is also reported in the cash flow statement, and the values reported in those 2 places are different. So that's a mismatched value. So a totaling mistake is when the numbers don't add up. A mismatched value is the same values reported in 2 places in the annual report with 2 different data, with 2 different numbers over there. The third is what is called incorrect sign. An incorrect sign is, as you can see, it's 3%. It's much less. But an incorrect sign is when somebody reports a positive value with a negative number. Like, for example, reports a profit as a loss or a loss as a profit, for example. And an incorrect date, which is the smallest of it, is when the date is reported incorrectly in the annual report. So instead of 2019, someone reports it as 2018, for example. So these are the 4 categories. And as you can see, totaling mistakes, all are pretty basic, very easy to understand. But surprisingly, they still creep in to the reports of so many companies. And so these are the 4 categories. And the statements that we looked at were 5 statements. It was income statement, comprehensive income statement, balance sheet, equity statement, and cash flow statement. The largest percentage of errors happens in the cash flow statement. This is, by the way, very typical across the world. We have done these kinds of studies, not just in Europe, but globally, including in India, in the United States, etc. So typically, it's always in the cash flow statement where the maximum number of errors tend to creep in, followed by the equity statement, and then the rest. One observation that we have here is that when we did the study across 671 companies, we categorized them as large cap and mid and small cap. And the perception normally is that large caps always disclose more accurately, they disclose data better. It's not really true at all. So when you look at it, you will see over here that 40 of the 66 companies that we found mistakes in, that is 61% of the mistakes were found in large caps actually, and just in the primary financial statements. While in small caps, it was actually lower. So I'm so sorry, I say small caps and mid and large caps. So we've categorized it as mid and large caps in one category and small caps. So the typical perception is that, small caps, would tend to be, for the want of a better word, sloppier in their reporting. Absolutely not true. In fact, they are better in their reporting. And large caps actually show more errors in the reporting, even in the primary financial statements, mid and large caps. And now we take a very quick summary look at which industries have the most mistakes, and we can see that the largest number is in the banking, financial services and insurance. Again, this is very similar to trends that we see in the rest of the world, and we see like a correlation between the complexity of disclosures, because BFSI typically has more complex disclosures, and the propensity to make mistakes. So more mistakes typically tend to happen in this sector. It's not uncommon. It's very much in line with the trend that we see in other markets as well. So this was very high level. Of course, we have a lot of data and a lot of detail by country, by company, that all of that. But this was just to present a high level summary of what we found. I'd like to move on to what's more interesting, how we found it. And this also links with actually the ESEF mandate and what you will anyway be doing for the ESEF mandate. So what we did, as we mentioned, is that we already converted the reports of all these 671 companies into IXBRL, including those of the 20 companies in Malta. Once we converted them, we ran them through checks, which are ESMA ESEF specific XBRL, and that we have in our tools. So some of the mistakes are found through what is called a calculation check. XBRL has something called a calculation check, where, for example, if you have numbers which you tag 3 numbers and you tag the total, it automatically runs a calculation check to see if the numbers are adding up to the right total. So it gives you the calculated value, and it gives you the reported value which you have tagged, and then it shows you what the difference is between those two. A good software does that. So you're automatically able to see where there are calculation inconsistencies. So the biggest chunk of mistakes, if you remember, the 75% chunk, which was in totaling mistakes, found by calculation checks in XBRL. Second is, if you remember, there was something called incorrect sign, which was small, where profit is reported as loss or a loss is reported as profit. So if you look on the left-hand side over here, this is an extract of an annual report. The company had a profit of 16,545 and operating profit. Then they had some expenses, interest, income expenses, etc., and they had financial expenses. And so the total should have been 16,545 minus 1,417. It should have been 15,128. Instead, they have reported it as minus 15,128. How were we able to detect this? Again, a calculation check. Because the value is reported as minus 15,128, it gets tagged as minus 15,128, and therefore, the calculation, the math doesn't add up when we're doing the reported value of profit before tax and the calculated value of profit before tax. So a simple thing like a calculation check in XBRL can automatically start throwing up basic inconsistencies. Now let's look at the mismatch value, if you remember, where we talked about the same number being in the income statement and in the cash flow statement, different values. How does that get detected? Through something called a duplicate check. There is something in XBRL called a duplicate check, where in this example on the left side, if you see, the company has reported profit for the year and as some number, 14,681,738, and then they have attributed the same profit to non-controlling and owners, and they have another total, 14,685. They have 14,681 here, they've got 14,685 here, two different numbers. Now, how do we recognize this inconsistency? Because both of these get tagged with profit for the year in XBRL, in that ESEF taxonomy. And then automatically there's an error that says, hey, hold on, you've got two different values tagged to the same item. And then you go back and you see that there's a discrepancy over here. So mismatched value gets trapped through a duplicate check. Similarly, an incorrect date also gets trapped through a duplicate check. So this company reported January to December 2017. And again, they said January to December 2017, although they must have meant 2018. So in XBRL, when this gets tagged as two whole sets of numbers for 2017. And again, the duplicate check says, hold on, these are two different values for 2017 for cash flow, for receipts from customers. And then automatically, one is able to go back to the document and realize that this was a mistake. This should have been 2018, for example. So simple checks that we have shown right here from the primary financial statements itself. Of course, if one went to footnotes and one started tagging footnotes, there would be many, many more errors and inconsistencies. And XBRL as a standard has many more calculations and checks apart from basic arithmetical calculations. There are formulas, there are there are checks of making sure that some data is actually present in the document. There are many kinds of checks available to ensure that the quality of the document goes up. So, so just before I get to this slide, therefore, just one request to all the participants here that the quality of your data is very important. As we said in the beginning, both for regulators as well as for actually investors and a wide stakeholder. And with this ESEF mandate, there is actually an opportunity to very nicely use the XBRL standard to automatically up the quality of your report. So the only thing that you need to do is ensure that you have the right software that can help you with this quality. So just some basic checks that we have put here that you could use when you're trying to ensure that you get the right quality or you get the right software, which is make sure that whatever software you have has a validator so that you can validate the reported value against the taxonomy. So validations are a very important part of any XBRL document. The software obviously should be able to detect omissions. That means if some facts are not tagged at all, or some facts that should be there are not there, the software should have the ability to detect that. This part is more about a process really, which means if you are working, especially I guess in times of COVID, if you are working across different people working from their homes, your auditors working somewhere else, etc. Part of the reason errors creep in is because sometimes in the last minute versions are not managed well, or documents are being emailed, back and forth, and something gets missed in that last scramble. So it's normally useful also to ensure that whatever software you have has some element of collaboration or visibility, or it's cloud-based. That helps basically. Of course, ensure that whatever software you have is XBRL International certified, so you have some level of comfort that you're getting the right quality there, and that's passed the ESMA field test. Now, there is one thing which is unique to ESMA and the ESEF reporting. They have a taxonomy which is published, and ESMA also says that if you do not find an appropriate tag in the taxonomy to meet your specific disclosure, you can extend the taxonomy. You can extend by adding your own element. So what you're expected to submit to ESMA specifically is not just your annual report, which is converted to IXBRA, but your annual report and your own company taxonomy. So in your company taxonomy, you need to select or pick those elements that you have selected from the ESMA taxonomy. If the ESMA taxonomy has 3,000 elements and you've picked only 50, you need to put those 50 in your company taxonomy, and also anything that is unique to you, your extensions. So essentially, why I'm saying this is that, please make sure that whatever software you pick, you have the visibility to view your company taxonomy as well as to edit your company taxonomy. Because finally, when the regulator or when an analyst or an investor is using your data, they're going to look not just at your report, but your report along with your company taxonomy. So it's very, very important. Just keep that in mind. Another thing is, of course, softwares that have intelligence built in so that they can suggest elements, and they can, so that, there is a large taxonomy of 3,000 elements. Your document has let's say 200. It can suggest what the right tag is, or it can even suggest what, if you have a unique element, what you can anchor it to from the ESMA taxonomy. So it should be able to facilitate all of these. And ideally, it would be, you should be able to generate an error-free filing using such a software. So, just some pointers which can help you. But the deeper message over here is that please use the ESMA ESEF mandate as an opportunity to actually up the quality of the report, which is already pretty good in the case of Malta, but certainly please use this opportunity to do that, and also make your data more discoverable, because that makes a big difference as well. This is a slide on, actually, as we did the study, we also, obviously, when we tagged the reports, the primary financial statements, wherever there were no appropriate concepts in the ESMA taxonomy, we applied extensions, custom extensions, for all the 671 companies where needed. And one of the learnings that we found is, from the ESMA taxonomy, the maximum number of extensions come in the case of BFSI. Again, it's not surprising, and again, it's very similar to what we've seen in the US and other markets, that extensions typically happen in the BFSI sector, where it's more complex, or there are more unique disclosures, and then there is utilities, real estate, and so on. So again, the importance of extensions. So one thing, a couple of things that I would just like to say, or to leave you with, is that we as a company, we are extremely excited about data, better data for just better governance, but also for companies to better step up in visibility. So especially for small caps, mid caps, if you are able to actually make your data discoverable through XBRL, it can step up your visibility like nothing else can, because it's very easy then for analysts around the world to actually track your company reports. And XBRL offers a lot of things, including language labels, including these calculations, including machine readability. And we have, we evangelize, and we're very passionate about this as well. One of the things, one of the last things I'd like to leave you with is that, and I think Mr. Dua will speak about this in more detail, is that we as a company are very honored to actually extend a special package called the India Cares package. This is specifically for small companies, small and medium companies, and this is in light of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. So the COVID has actually impacted all of us across the world, and small companies more than most. But at this time, we realize it is all the more important for small companies to actually step up on visibility, to be more easy for them to get funding, to get discovered, etc. And we think that XBRL is an absolutely fabulous way to do that. So we who have been in the XBRL space for 15 years and evangelists, we are actually offering to small companies an offer where we help them with the software for free. We provide our Iris Carbon software for free for the first year of their transition into ESMA. And we also offer our services for free should such small companies want it. And once again, I thank you very much for being here. And with this, I will stop sharing my screen and turn this over to you, Mr. Dua, please. We can't hear you. Sir, we can't hear you. Sorry, while Mr. Dua is trying to get his audio, I think he joined in a little bit late. I just wanted to introduce Mr. Dua as the political counselor of the High Commission of India in Malta. And we are absolutely honored to have him with us. As soon as his audio gets in, we're just eagerly waiting to have him participate.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Loud and clear, sir.
You can hear now?
Absolutely.
Hello, I can't hear you, but I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, no problem. So it's basically fine. Now I have to speak for a while. So thank you so much, madam. It was quite, enlightening to know everything you are doing with IRIS. And we are so thankful to you, in fact, for letting me, on behalf of the High Commission of India, join this very useful webinar and getting to know everything about it. And we are particularly, delighted to know about the India Cares initiative of IRIS, which is which you have launched, and that's what we are here to, basically listen from you about it, and it was very useful to know all about it. India's strength in the IT field is okay, ma'am? Are you able to hear me? Okay, thank you so much. India's strength in the IT field have been well established, for long now, for more than 2 decades, I think. And the Indian software industry has built up valuable brand equity for itself at global level now. And Indians are at the helm of affairs at global technology. Companies like Google and Facebook, are among the leading entrepreneurs and investors in Silicon Valley and elsewhere. And what is particularly gratifying is about, at this point of time when we are right in the middle of the pandemic and the global economies are basically, under a lot of stress. And at that point of time, the world economy, these big companies and other, investors, they have shown that much of trust and that much of confidence in India that, they have come forward to invest in a big way, these big companies and other investors. So that is something, I think because of the brand value which you people, companies like you, with your sincere and hard work have built up for, India over all these years. And we really, thank you very much for all this. Coming to Malta, the relations between our two countries are, growing for the last few years. In fact, you may be aware that we have set up this High Commission only recently about the resident High Commission. It's about now 3 years going to be. So before that, we were operating from Libya, as a concurrent accreditation. And from that time onwards, it has the relations have seen a phenomenal jump. There have been the visits from in 2018, September 2018, there was a visit from Honorable Vice President of India, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. And then immediately following that, it was the Maltese Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Malta, His Excellency Mr. Dr. Joseph Muscat, who visited India and participated in the global Gujarat virtual summit. So not virtual summit. Sorry, we are on virtual platform, so I think it keeps on coming to the mind, virtual world. So he actually physically went there and took part in the global investors. So. So that way, we have been doing quite well, and these are only just 2 visits, and there were a number of others. The Speaker of the Indian Parliament has visited here in the last 2 years. Number of Maltese ministers have gone to India, and so much has happened in these 2-3 years. Our trade also has shown a good improvement. It's an upward trend, and with pharmaceuticals, of course, form the core of our partnership with Malta. And the Indian pharma companies are here. They have invested successfully in Malta, and one of the company, the Aurobindo Pharma, which is now one of the largest pharma testing laboratory in Europe. It is established in Malta. So that way, we are looking at, growing our relationship manifold in the coming days. So there are, opportunities in ICT and related sectors, in Malta, like fintech. It's an important sector. Then the artificial intelligence, which Malta is putting a lot of stress on, and it's an emerging technologies and all that. So we have the mutual strengths in these fields, and we think that we can usefully collaborate with each other. Then it's a Malta, of course, it's a very, very important EU country. It is a freight transshipment point and financial center. It's an R&D, research and development hub and all that. So, after its success in iGaming, it has placed emphasis on emerging technologies and all kind of things. So, in all this background, we look at IT as an area which can drive next phase of of our growth of Indian exports to Malta. In this regard, we complement this IRIS for its India Cares initiative, and for doing it so well. And I wish you all the very best, in fact, for this initiative. And what we heard from you is too good. I just wanted to ask you, can this be used like in our systems also, like auditing and all that, like something which I'll have to put to here to you. I think I'll have to go back to my... Hello?
Hello?
Hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So both ways now I can also hear you.
Excellent.
Strange. Yeah, that's the good success it means we have achieved.
Excellent.
Yeah. So in that connection, just for my own personal, the XBRL, like the software which you have, like what I can understand is basically it's good it's for the auditing and all that. It can be very useful. So can this be, used in the government systems like us, similarly like you're used in banks and in other institutions and everywhere?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So XBRL, it is an open source standard. It's a global open source standard.
Excellent.
And, and it is, while it started initially in the financial and business reporting, it has got extensions in various areas. In fact, we ourselves as IRIS, because we are so passionate about this, we have used it in areas for forensic analysis, for fraud detection.
Wonderful.
In the US, in the US, currently they actually are using XBRL for government federal grant reporting. So for budgets tracking budget, so it can be used in very extensive areas, and it actually the whole government citizen interaction can become much better, richer, stronger with standards like this, basically. So absolutely, sir.
No, I was more concerned about the monotonous areas like in the government of India and all that, like instead of the exciting ones you are talking about.
No, sir. No, I think certainly huge, they can be like a huge amount of impact in the area of just auditing itself, in the area of like financial.
Wonderful. That's very good. Excellent. So thank you so much indeed. So it was really nice getting to know all about it. And we wish you all the very big success in your venture. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much, and just, what a pleasure to have you today and interact with you. And
delighted to.
Once again to all attendees and participants as well, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
We encourage you to take advantage of our India Cares offer. It is for small caps, which is companies with a market cap of less than 100 million euro.
With less than 100.
But we think it will certainly be of like a great benefit to them moving to the standard.
Thank you so much. Thanks once again.
Bye-bye.